Money comes fast, but it can disappear even faster. What if I told you that a shocking number of billionaires have faced total financial ruin? It sounds impossible, right? These are the richest people in the world, the ones who seem to have cracked the code to wealth. But history proves that even billion-dollar fortunes are more fragile than they appear. So, what really separates those who keep their wealth from those who lose it all? Is it intelligence? Luck? Or is there a deeper truth that most people overlook? By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why even billionaires can make devastating mistakes, and more importantly, how you can avoid making the same ones. The illusion of security. We tend to think that once someone becomes rich, they're set for life. But here's the truth: money is just a tool. And like any tool, if it's misused, it can cause destruction just as easily as it can build. Some of the wealthiest people in history have lost everything, not because they weren't intelligent, but because they misunderstood the true nature of wealth. If money alone made people secure, billionaires wouldn't go bankrupt. So why does it happen? More often than not, there are 3 reasons. 1. They chase wealth without wisdom. 2. They fail to practice stewardship. 3. They believe money alone can protect them from risk. Without a solid foundation, even the biggest fortunes can crumble. And if you think this only happens to reckless gamblers, think again. Let's take a look at 5 billionaires who lost it all, and the hidden lessons in their downfalls. And trust me, you'll want to hear the last story. It's proof that one wrong decision can bring down an empire. The house built on sand, Eike Batista. Eike Batista was once Brazil's golden boy. He wasn't just wealthy, he was on track to becoming the richest man in the world. His company, OGX, was supposed to revolutionize oil production. Investors poured billions into his vision, believing his promises of untapped reserves and unstoppable growth. But there was one problem: his oil fields weren't producing. Batista had built an empire on speculation, borrowing against future wealth that never materialized. By 2013, the truth was impossible to ignore. OGX collapsed, and his fortune, estimated at $35 billion, vanished almost overnight. Mansions, yachts, even a Lamborghini with a personalized Eike 001 license plate, gone. His mistake? He placed his faith in what he thought wealth would be rather than securing what it actually was. Wealth that isn't built on something real will always fall apart. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about the billionaire who gambled everything on one stock. The fall of a nation, Bjorgolfur Guomundsson. Bjorgolfur Guomundsson was once one of the richest men in Europe, a billionaire banker at the helm of Iceland's booming financial sector. He owned one of the country's largest banks, Landsbanki, and for years, everything seemed unstoppable. Then came 2008. The global financial crisis hit Iceland harder than almost anywhere else, and Landsbanki crumbled under the weight of debt. The collapse wiped out not just Guomundsson's fortune, but much of the country's economy. And unlike corporate losses, these debts were personal. He was forced to liquidate everything: his assets, his investments, even his reputation. His mistake? He built his wealth assuming the good times would never end, never preparing for the storm that was bound to come. And when it hit, it took everything. True security doesn't come from how much you have, it comes from how well you protect it. The illusion of wealth, Stanford. Stanford lived the billionaire lifestyle to the fullest. Private jets, luxury yachts, entire islands in his name. But beneath it all, his wealth was an illusion. His company, Stanford Financial Group, promised massive returns to investors, but the truth was darker: he was running one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in history. For years, he used new investors' money to pay off old ones, all while living like a king. But in 2009, it all collapsed. Investigators uncovered the fraud, and suddenly, his $7 billion empire was worthless. Instead of boardrooms and private jets, Stanford found himself in a courtroom, sentenced to 110 years in prison. His mistake? His wealth was built on deception, and deception never lasts. Money earned dishonestly is always temporary. The cost of hype. Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes had a vision to change the healthcare industry forever. Her company, Theranos, was supposed to revolutionize blood testing, and investors believed she was the next Steve Jobs. At its peak, Theranos was valued at over $9 billion, and Holmes became the youngest self-made female billionaire. But there was one problem: her technology didn't work. For years, she misled investors, patients, and the media. In 2015, whistleblowers revealed the truth, and everything unraveled. Holmes lost her company, her fortune, and now faces years in prison for fraud. Her mistake? She chased hype over substance, prioritizing the appearance of success over the foundation of real value. You can't fake true wealth, because wealth isn't just about making money, it's about creating something that actually matters. And speaking of bad decisions, our last billionaire's downfall came from a single high-stakes gamble that backfired in the worst way. The tragic gamble, Adolf Merckle. Adolf Merckle was one of Germany's wealthiest men, a billionaire investor with stakes in some of the world's biggest companies. But one bad bet changed everything. He believed Volkswagen stock would drop, so he shorted it, betting billions on the price going down. But in a shocking twist, Volkswagen stock skyrocketed instead. Merckle lost billions almost instantly. His empire was suddenly in jeopardy, and for the first time, he found himself on the losing side of a deal he couldn't escape. Devastated, he took his own life. His tragic story is a reminder that wealth built on high-risk speculation is never secure. Taking calculated risks is part of financial success, but when everything is riding on one bet, even billionaires can lose it all. The biblical lesson they all ignored. Every one of these billionaires lost their fortune for the same reason: they built on unstable ground. Batista chased status. Guomundsson assumed stability. Stanford built on deception. Holmes prioritized illusion. Merckle gambled everything. Each of them lost it all because their wealth had no foundation. The Bible teaches this exact lesson in Matthew 7:24-27, the story of the wise and foolish builders. The wise man built his house upon the rock, but the foolish man built his house upon the sand. And when the rain came and the floods rose, the house on the sand fell with a great crash. Wealth without wisdom, stewardship, and integrity is like a house built on sand. It might stand for a while, but when the storms come, it crumbles. What happens after losing it all? There's a lot to learn from failure, but there's just as much to learn from comebacks. If you found these stories interesting, there's another video you need to see, one that explores how millionaires who lost everything actually made a comeback. Click here to watch it now. And if you want more content like this, hit subscribe. Because understanding wealth isn't just about making money, it's about keeping it, growing it, and using it with wisdom.